Unfortunately, we had a little incident where my phone died. So we didn't get to see me throw in the USB power supply for this here. I used sticky tack and the speaker actually. I used sticky tack for the speaker, which is right here. It's just regular old sticky tack, and I use it to stick the components on the board that don't really stay in here very well, such as these buttons here. So if I just pop one of these bad boys in here, right, see they're in there, but when I flip it over, it kind of hangs off the board, and we don't really want that. We want it to stay where it is when we're trying to solder it, because that would make things difficult, right? And we don't want things difficult. So now that I've installed the passive speaker and the USB power, now these two components actually go on underneath the socket for the microcontroller. So we have to solder them before we put on the microcontroller. Now these parts, these ones here, as you can see, I've got them in there, and they're staying in here, right? Well, that's because I bend these little leads down here. I bend them just so that they can hang in there without me, using sticky tack or something along those lines, right? So let's get that little blob of solder off there. Now these little helping hand things, they can get pretty pricey if you go for a good one. The good ones are a little bit easier to work with, just in the sense that just takes less time to set up. These ones are totally fine if you're patient and can set up all the little nubs to get in their respective places, right? So again, always good practice to add a good amount of flux before you start soldering stuff on, because that is going to help your solder flow to this board. I do it the cheap way, and I just use a brush. And I lost my little fucking... There it is. All right. We've got our little solder thing. A little bit of solder. Just adjust our little magnifying glass. Always heat up the pad a little bit before adding your solder. Make sure you have a little bit on the tip here too. And then boom. She's in. Boom. So that little crackling noise, that's just the flux burning away and helping you solder this joint on. There's a little bit too much solder here. Try and wick up a little bit of that solder with my iron. Clean it off. There. We'll heat up that pad a little bit. And beautiful. So those two components are soldered on. Now, if you're really worried about the fumes coming up off of the board when you're soldering to it, you can get a fume extractor or a fume hood for this, but honestly, it's not really necessary. I'm sure we can get cancer from various other sources in our lives, right? So maybe eventually I will invest. Oh, come on. But right now, doesn't seem to be too important. Not top priority for me. Of course, now I can get that one little piece off of there. Get that away from that. Now, I'll try and cut these a little bit smoother to the board just so it doesn't interfere with... But again, with my big nippers, that's one thing that I would highly suggest getting, is a smaller pair of nippers. Because with these big boys, it's a little tough to get everything in a good spot. So I'm just going to bend those tabs down. Don't poke yourself. So we've got those two components soldered on here, which would be the electrolytic capacitor and just this regular old capacitor here. So don't fuck with them once they're on here. If you start bending them down, you might start weakening the joints there, and we don't want that. This kit in particular actually comes with a little like compressed cardboard box for it in the end once you're finished actually building the thing. So we've got those on there. Shouldn't interfere with our board on top. If it does end up interfering with this socket, which I don't think it will. Yeah, it props it up off the board enough that it shouldn't fuck with that. So now what we've got here is we've got our buttons to put on. I'm just kind of going off of the pictures on the board here, right? So the buttons, unfortunately, are gonna need some sticky tack to hang on to there. So we're just gonna install all the buttons here. And these aren't polarized, so you don't have to worry about which way they actually go on the board. It's just about which ones are where to control going left, right, and the usual directions. So we'll just pop all of these guys into place here, if I can, with my big meat sausage fingers here. Oopsie. Okay, so now these ones kind of require the sticky tack. I could probably reuse a little bit of this sticky tack here and just kind of put it over top of them a little bit here. All right. Now bridge those two together. And then we'll put a little bit more on. Holy crap, this stuff is really stretchy. Yeah, we will go across the other two buttons with this as well. Just see, pop them back into place here. See, this is the issue with the cheap ones, is they kind of don't want to stay where you want to put them, right? Okay, we're going to see how this works out here. Grab a little bit more tack. You know what, we'll do this one after. How about that? We'll get these four done here first. And I'll just attach that to the board if it wants to stick. Sometimes the flux really does not want to stick to these. Sticks to my fingers really well. But not to the board where I want it to. So I'm just going to stick those down there. Move these guys out of the way. And we'll see. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it could be held on a wee bit better here. Grab a little bit of that and stick that down there. It doesn't look all the greatest, but it seems like, yeah, this one just needs to stick down just a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that. I think whatever little adjustments I need to do to bring the buttons down a little bit more, we will make those adjustments after they are actually secured on there. Wow, see, I almost forgot now. Flux it up, baby. Flux it up. Flux it up. Just get that shit all over this. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, that is a lot. Let's get rid of that. I mean, you want a lot, but you don't want a crazy amount. Like, this is probably a little bit much, but we'll see. Yeah, this one still doesn't really want to sit all the way up into there, but you know what? We'll go for it. Oh, forgot a little bit. And this guy. Right here. And here. I almost left one out. How could you? Alrighty. Let's hold this the right way. Hey, let go. Beautiful. You are on there. Good. A little bit more to that one. So my hand is like right in the way of this, right? But what I'm doing really is I'm heating up the pad a little bit before I see. Some of these aren't really stuck on there great. Sticky tack, you know, it's a hit or miss sometimes. Get that on there. And you don't want to use too much. That's what you don't want to do. Or, sorry, not use too much solder, but put too much, like stay too long on the board. You don't want to heat it up a crazy amount, because you might end up damaging some of the parts that you're actually trying to solder onto there. We did get those guys already. I just want to secure these a little bit better before I... This guy here, we want him to be on there quite a bit better than he already is. That I'm actually kind of happy with now. Let's slip it back into my little helpy hands here. Yeah, I mean, I can work with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, it just has to work, right? Let go of my fucking... There we go. Pop that guy in there. Get all of these connections soldered. Get this one in. So now I'm kind of running out of solder here. Just working with a little end piece here. Just gonna heat that bad boy up. Throw a little bit of heat into there. Come on now. There we go. Oh, that was a little bit too much solder. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to put too much on there. So then here, I'm gonna have to remove that ball of solder off of there. And this is where a soldering wick comes in. Kind of handy for these situations. Now, soldering wick is to remove a little bit of solder from what you've already placed down here. So essentially what you do is you heat up this solder wick here, and then it should suck up a decent amount of that. Oh yeah, that made it significantly better. Okay, we got enough of that ball away. But see, it's now sucked up that solder into this wick, which isn't that hot after you've fucked with it a little bit. But yeah, that essentially it's a little bit of a helping hand. Now I can remove my mess of tack here. That I should not have put that much, but it is what it is. It helped me. Now we've got all of our buttons secured. We've got a lot of flux on this board right now too. Now we've got the final button that we are to do here. As I said, it's kind of pretty intuitive how to get these things done here. Just remove that little bit of tack. Right. Okay. And we'll throw in this button right into its place there. Okay, we'll add a little bit of tack, not as much as I did last time. That was a little too much. That should stay where it is, and it did for the most part. We'll add a little bit of fluxy, wuxy. Does that come in a little bit more? Nope, that is all the way down. I just got flux all over this thing. That's fine. We'll grab our little bit of solder that we have left. I'm going to have to get a little bit more. That one is on. That one is on. That one is on. And that one is on. Beautiful. It kind of smells good, the fumes from it, but you know, maybe I'm just a little bit weird. I could be a little strange. I'm no stranger to that. Okay, so we got all of the buttons on. I'm going to want to get rid of a lot of that flux. We got the two components that sit underneath this. We are going to need to do a slight repair to one of these here. I'm not 100% sure how this goes on, so we're going to have to wait for that guy to go on. For this dot matrix here, it seems to go this way. There. Okay. That's not so bad. I don't think we'll need these arms for this. I think we can just lay it pretty flat on there. We should be able to get all of our soldering done in that sense there. Like I said, again, we'll throw on a good amount of flux on this bad boy here. Yes, sir. Like I said, we can clean this all up after the board's actually all. I'm gonna unspool a little bit more solder here, and it's very malleable, as you can see. It just kind of wraps around the finger like that, and then I usually just have it like this, and I will boop 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 wherever it needs to go. Right. So let's get this. I'm like right in the way for this head. You know what? Let's move you to maybe a better spot. Ooh. It's not really great, is it? It's not really great anywhere we put you. Again, this is my first time doing any of this kind of YouTube stuff, so bear with me. I will eventually get a good camera. I just don't want to right now. So yeah. I'm still going to be in the way of this. I don't think there's really going to be any good way of doing this here. We got a through hole there? Okay. So this is the first pin that we're going to end up doing here. We got one in. Just tin up our little. It really doesn't want to stick to my iron. There we go. One. Another. My breath is fogging up my little thing here, my magnifying glass light, whatever you want to call it. Come on, there it is. Come on, let go of it. There we go. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. That one's good. I think we got them all in. Move the solder wick out of the way. All right. I think we got them all. Ooh, we missed one. We missed one right here. A little bit much, I think, but I think that one is now on. Looks like all of those joints are pretty good. So one through hole that's. Now see, this is pretty solid on there now. All right, what are we missing here? So we've got the two dot matrices to put on, and we've got. What is that part right here? What are you, and where are you? And have I lost something? This would not surprise me. If I did, I apologize. Good, there it is. Yes, I did lose something, and it was the button. And I don't think this is polarized, so I think we are good to secure this any way we want. So the button fits in like right there. This is just a on-off switch, I believe. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tack this bitch up. We're gonna tack this bitch up. Our tack is over here. And I'm just gonna scooch it right up into there. See, this tack is not, it's not ideal for this purpose, I don't think. I think this was more meant to stick posters onto the wall or something, right? But like I said before, you work with what you got. I work with my sausage fingers, and apparently with sticky tack, that does not like to stick to this fucking board. Here we go. That is the deal for me. Let's move these into a better spot. Hold you there. Hold you there. This would work out better if there weren't fucking components everywhere where I was trying to put these. But this is fine. Remember to flux it up. Flux it up. Always flux it up. Always. Grab our solder here. We'll heat up that pin. And once you get one of them on, and then the rest of them kind of go a lot smoother. Just for the simple fact that that was a lot of solder. Come on, baby. Give me some of that. Give me some of that. I want some of this. There it is. I dipped it in a little bit of flux as an attempt to try and get it to actually stick to this here. I think we're actually burning a little bit of this, which might be causing a little bit of the, let me just get rid of this big blob on the end here. Come on, heat it up enough. There we go. Okay, no more blob on the end. That'll make things a little bit easier. We'll get that guy in there. We'll get that guy. Looks like none of them are bridged, so we are golden. Okay, let's take that tack off. Make sure we're good there. Yeah, everything. It seems as if we are looking pretty good on this board so far. Everything seems to be attached. So, excuse me. Actually, this calls for a little bit of beer. All right. So now, I don't think that these have to go on a certain way, but let me check the vague Chinese instructions. Oh, where are we at here? Oh, it's not actually cardboard. It is, from what I can tell, plexiglass with a covering on it, which is actually nicer than I thought. I 100% thought, okay, so the numbers have to be down, which makes sense. It matches the numbers here and here. See, the instructions aren't too incredibly confusing. It would be, match number to number. Easy peasy. Okay, so we look for the numbers on this side. So we slot it in, and we slot it in. And that's pretty much it. This one, unfortunately, we may, you know what, I grabbed this specifically for this case right here. We're just gonna lock that in place with that. See, use whatever you can. I had these little clippies, and I am using them. All right, so let's get the flux it up, baby, flux it up. got a generous amount of flux on that, huh? Yeah, soak them. Soak them. All right. Let's get her going. All right. I'm going to start off on this end here. I'm going to try to do it at an angle that is easier to see on the camera here. I'm just trying to solder on all of these pins here. And you want to be careful on these guys not to bridge any pins. Or apparently solder your little piece of solder to the actual pin would be nice. Why does that one look so strange? I don't know, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Everything is okay. You guys all look good. Let's solder on these guys here. Come on. Oh. Okay, well, don't get too close to your little clippy. I shouldn't need you anymore since you are held on now. Just burning a little bit of my clip off there. Don't want to do that. No way, Jose. Let's try and keep the clips in good shape here. Again, fogging up my little magnifying glass light here. I'm going to try to get them so I can get a decent shot of this, but I'm going to need a better camera setup as we progress on here, if you guys enjoy this channel. I will try and improve my setup a little bit to accommodate for some better shots. I mean, it's not the prettiest, but fuck. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. So, we've got another dot matrix to populate onto the board. Excuse me, oh my goodness. No more beer for me while I'm doing this. So we're gonna just slip them into their correct holes, if possible. There we are. Alright. Let's actually just hold this guy in there, just to be safe with that. Flux it up, baby. Flux it up. Oh yeah, there you go. Get it all on there. Yeah, and this time, once I've got one of these guys, well, maybe a couple of them soldered on correctly there, I'll remove that that little clip here. I'll try and get you guys a good shot from this angle here. Solder that pin on there, and that guy there. Oh, don't bridge them. Don't bridge them, Matt. Okay. Now I can remove this effectively. You know what? It was kind of shifting around last time I did this, so let's just hold it in place with these guys for now. The things I do for the shots, clearly here. Fucking goddamn cats. Always cats, eh? If you got cats, you know you can't escape the hair. No matter what you do, there's no escaping. There we go. There is absolutely zero escaping it. It's just a fact of life. Life with animals is a hairy life. A little bit more on that guy. Flow that. Look at that. We are almost done. Just the last one.